unfairness, why don't you create a new category for them?
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. I do understand our motion for today, but we as the government have the rights on which side of the debate we want to talk about. And today we've decided that we want to talk about the entries of transgender females in sports. Okay, so moving on to our first argument for today, which is it will bring inequality. Okay, statistics have shown that biological men have roughly twice the cross-sectional area of upper body muscle and 30% more cross-sectional area of lower body muscle compared to biological women, which is clearly will bring unfairness to the competition. They are born with the physics of a man, but just because they suddenly change their gender identity once they are old enough to understand what is gender, how it works, just because they change their gender identity, it should not mean that they should be given the rights to join the women's sport. Okay. Okay. I know it about the stereotypes about the women's being weaker or anything, but we're not talking about the stereotypes here. It's not about the women are weaker or less athletic than men. It's about the difference on the body figure, on their build of their figure, will bring much difference, will bring unfairness to the competition. For example, a man born with big muscles on their biceps, with big muscles on their legs, join in women's swimming competition, for example. It will surely bring unfairness because they are built with a body figure that is unfortunately created to be stronger than women. It's not about the stereotype. We don't deny that women also have their own strengths. That women are not weak. Women are not the one that can just be degraded just because they are women. But we are looking at the other side, at the more obvious side, they are they are born with different body figures from the men. They have different build from the men athletes, from the men, and then and then the men decided to change their gender identity, which makes them transgender females and which makes them qualifies for the sports competition, which is unfair. So, we as the government are trying to prove that the entries of transgender females in sports will only lead to unfairness. This unfairness should be stopped. That's why we regret the entries of transgender females in sport. I believe we as the government have the right to actually talk about this, to actually talk about the entries of transgender females in sports. It is because we as the government need to make sure that all of the stakeholders are unharmed. We want to make sure all athletes, um, all athletes of overseas or international or any other sports competition will receive fair and equal treatment. That's all from me. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your speech, Nadira. Now we will hear from the leader of the opposition.
Hello, am I audible?
Yeah.
Greetings to Madam Chair, voting member of the government, and members of the floor. The Prime Minister failed to again. Good morning to Madam Chair, worthy members of Parliament, and members of the floor. Today, we firmly believe that the motion must fall. This straightforward issue can risk profound implications for transgender. You people are saying that transgender will not compete in sports ever. Why you are crushing their hopes and dreams and that they worked for all their lives? We as the opposition propose that transgender should belong in sports. But instead of outright regretting that they are joining, we should allow them by opening a new world for them, or in other words, open a whole new category. We strongly believe that today's motion that this House regrets the entries of transgender in sports must stand for simply because dreams, mental health, and fundamental human rights. The Prime Minister failed to state the definitions of transgender, sports, and regrets. Moving on, I will state the definitions. Regret. Few sides repent or disappoint over something that the government has failed to done or do so. Next one is transgender. A person whose gender identified with gender expression or behavior does not conform to that typical association with the sex to which they were assigned at birth. Sports, an activity involving physical assertion and skills in which an individual or team competes against another or other for entertainment. Moving on to status quo and mechanism. Currently, there is no category for a transgender category, which is the reason it's causing the uproar. So for today's round, which is opening up a new category for transgenders. As the leader of opposition, I will present our first contentions, which falls under the key dreams. My second speaker will put forth on two watertight contentions, which are mental health and fundamental human rights. My third speaker will finally do what he does best, which is to rebut all the arguments put forth by the government and show you by way of sound reasoning that Congress is indisputable and for rebuts, lead to unfairness, no rights for transgender, to join women's sports. We agree, but that is why we are proposing you guys to open a new category as well as that. Why are you emphasizing on women's sports? This is for everyone, not just for women. For my arguments, I will go over which my arguments will be dream. Everyone has a dream. We have the rights to have them. I believe in this meeting now. We all have a dream we want to achieve. So do these transgender people, where he said dream big. But by agreeing to this motion, the government is basically going over this sport. In fact, destroying thousands, maybe millions of dreams. Imagine a family funding the children in sports and the children putting effort in sports. But suddenly, the government are banning transgender people in sport. This will lead to destroying this child's dream and their parents' dream as well. Is this what we want? Is this what the government wants for the future generation? What the opposition is trying to say is we disagree with this motion, simply because we can't handle this issue, which is transgender people in sports. By creating a new category for transgender people, just like Paralympics, we didn't say we don't want transgender people involved in sports. By this, we are allowing them to compete and tumble with transgender athletes. Her name is Laura Hubbard. She went to the 2020 Summer Olympics in Tokyo. Hubbard competes as women's super heavyweight 67 kg weightlifting category in her third 3 attempts lifts. She was the oldest lifter at the game and made history. In another way as well, as the first openly trans woman to compete in Olympic Games. If you government ban transgender people in involving in sports, how can miracles and history be made? We are beginning a new era for the new generation. First, sport will introduce to men, and later on to women, and on to Paralympics. So why can't we have a category for the trans? They are opening a new category for transgender swimmers. So you, government, why can't you do the same? All in all, the arguments for this house regrets the entries of transgender in sports, which will crush their dreams, is undeniable important for them. Our dreams act like a flower, and you guys are poisoning the soil, which makes the flower bitter. In this case, we should open a category for transgender females, for transgender people with sports. With that, I hope.
Thank you for the thoughtful speech. Now we will hear the speech of the Deputy Leader of Government. You have 7 minutes to present.
Yes.
All right, thanks. Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Inequality has objectively been the root cause for many major events that have happened throughout our great world history. For example, the Civil War was fought to end slavery and give Black Americans equality and same opportunities to pursue their dreams as white Americans. Furthermore, the women's rights movement during the 1880s and 90s saw the Imagine Life activists who also fought for equality on behalf of women such as Rosa Parks, Elizabeth Cady Stanton, and Harriet Tubman. What can we learn from this? Right, before that, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Today, starting the first argument from leader opposition, rebuttals to PM arguments. Third, introduce second and third argument, and fourth, reassert government stand and case. So, first, from the POI, from the opposition and the leader of opposition, I'll be answering that. First, you said we do a category for having an open category would mean anyone could choose to see how well they do against anyone. The problem is that many trans women want validation. They want everyone else to see them as being exactly the same as biological women and refusing them entry to famous spots and spaces. But creating one specifically for them just reminds them that they aren't. To be clear, you can do whatever you want to your body, but I don't believe that men that can become women. I don't hate trans people, but no matter how they identify, I do. However, object to women being forced to include people who are born male and who feel that they are women in our protected spaces. Well, live your best life, but don't pretend that taking hormones and having surgery makes you female. Right, I'll be moving on to my argument for my Prime Minister, inequality. So today, we can see the results of all their hard work. We live in a society more focused on the ideas of equality and representation for all people groups than any other preceding generation. However, sadly, yet ironically, we are witnessing a huge national regression in women's representation in the world that is happening in the name of equality. Right. Women's rights are the rights and entitlements claimed for women and girls worldwide. These include the right to live free from violence and discrimination, to enjoy the highest attainable standard of physical and mental health. And, of course, comes to women. Sports gives women the opportunity to show the world that they too can be extremely athletic and should be given the chance to show off their skills without having to compete against men. Because science has concluded time and time again that men are biological, women need their own category of sports so that they can compete fairly with one another. All right. For example, women's beach handball. A transgender female athlete who formerly played on an NCAA Division 3 women's soccer team has also played for Team USA women's beach handball. Imagine they won just because a transgender female athlete joined. Isn't it unfair for the women there? They work hard, and we know science already proven that men are stronger than women. So I think it's better that women have their own category, men have their own category. If you say they have transgender own category, I told you before. I've already told you before. They just want to see. Those transgender just want to see. Just want us to see them as biological gender. They just want to see. They just want to beat the woman. So I don't think making a new category would do anything. Won't do anything. We just make it worse. Next, are we moving on? Are we moving on to my female athletes? This has been seen in real life. We have seen it in our world. It's happening right now. Like I said before, scientific studies are a great resource in showing that males have biological advantage over females in athletes. But of course, we all know we don't need a study to tell us that how discouraging it is for female athletes to compete and lose to males. Imagine if you're a woman, imagine opposition, you are in the shoes of a woman. You work hard in your life. You work hard day and night, better than you in terms of physically and mentally. Won't you just feel like it would just crush their dreams and hopes? Transgender shouldn't be a choice. Transgender should not be allowed in sports. Moving on, since the CIA's policy change, male athletes who identify as females won tournaments after tournaments, collecting state titles along the way. In fact, since the CIA changed its policy, 2 male athletes has taken state title. Imagine your title being taken by transgender just because they change their gender. Isn't it unfair for them? Think opposition. Think. Think before you say anything. I can give even more examples. Women's basketball. A 50-year-old 6'6" man. Imagine that height. Who played on the women's college men's team 30 years pure before he became transgender, has played on a women's junior college basketball team. I couldn't imagine how sad, how tragic it should be for the women's team to fight such a tall transgender female. Just because you can change your gender doesn't mean you can ruin someone's life. It's just unfair for them. We people have to have the rights and equality. What's right for everyone? The government is suggesting that all athletes, all participants of the sports competition will receive fair and equal treatment, not only for men, but also women. We, as the government, we are surely to win today's debate because we have all our proofs that oppositions could not fight. I stand here as the Deputy Prime Minister proposing to the motion, this House regrets the entries of transgender in sport. Why? We want to make sure all athletes, all participants of the sports competition around the globe, not, I don't care age or strength, we want all of them to receive fair and equal treatment. That's all.
Thank you for the wise speech. Now we will hear the speech of the Deputy Leader of Opposition. You have 7 minutes to present your case. Deputy Leader of
Yes,
the
you can
Opposition,
hear me?
Raymond, are you there? Okay, yeah, clear.
Good day, Madam Speaker, worthy members of the government and members of the floor. The Prime Minister very eloquently painted a picture of ghastly proportions, a tactic often reserved to instill fear and anxiety in the masses. Well, before I start, do you still remember the background of the Deputy Prime Minister, which is on our stand, which is the purple background with the words opposition. This means that you are standing on our side, oppose the motion of the day, the House regrets the entries of transgender in sports. Well, before I start to elaborate my points, I would like to rebut all of the irrelevant points performed by the Deputy Prime Minister and the Prime Minister. Well, for the Deputy Prime Minister, it did mention about the inequality when the transgenders enter into sports. Well, when you are blocking the transgender entering the sport, this is a kind of inequality actually. The transgender had a human rights to live and to make their own decision and to do in sport. For example, for the Paralympic. Are you saying that if you are blocking the transgender, it's just the same issue when we compare to the Paralympic? For the disabled people, you are opening a new category for them. But why for the transgender people, you're not opening a new category for them? They're just same things, okay? Now move on when you say about the human. Yes, you may.
Okay, you said why we don't want to open a new category. Didn't I just mention? Haven't you just heard what I just said? The problem is that many trans women want validation. They want everyone else to see them as being exactly the same as biological women and refusing them entry to female sports and spaces.
Okay, thank you.
Creating one specific thing for them just reminds that they want arms. So I just told you.
Okay. For your info, the transgender people are not likely to value themselves as a woman, but value themselves as a human person, as a normal human to others. Okay. Now I will move on to other arguments. Okay. Before that, I would like to rebut one point again, where you say male have better physical potential. Okay, yeah. Okay. So, for example, you say that the male had a better strength compared to the female, right? But for your info, is chess a sport, right? Do you need strength to play the chess? Is the chess weight 10 kilograms for you to move?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I'd like to proceed. I'm sorry, I need to continue with my arguments. First, okay. The first keyword, the second point of our side, which is the first, my keywords under mental health. Under fundamental human rights. Okay, well, for info, human rights is the rights inherent to us human, regardless of nationality, sexuality, national, ethnic origin, color, religion, and languages. I want to highlight here, regardless of sexuality. Well, if you are we are in a democracy country, right? And you are you are regrets of the entries of transgender in the sport, which means that you are basically blocking or controlling the rights of the transgender to indulge themselves to whatever they like. For example, sport. Some of the transgender like to sport, but you are actually here in the sport. For transgender cannot participate in sport. And you are going against the democracy, and which is you are trying to become a tyrant government. Well, for info, there are veto countries that approve the need to that approve. I'm so sorry, I have still a lot of things to say. better countries that approve the transgender, and now after you, and we as the opposition, we let the transgender to enter the sport because we have the humanity. Now, the second keyword, mental health. For example, imagine if you are transgender and during the physical Michigan Medicine University of Michigan, according to their study, transgender individuals have higher percentage, which is 295% more likely to have depression diagnosis and 253% more likely to anxiety diagnosis. And for 50% of teens, transgender youth will contemplate suicide with higher risk if youth rejected by their families. And at here, for the parent, if you are blocking the transgender in sport, then they spend their whole life to prepare for the sport, their money, their energy. You are just burning all of this. Okay. So before I rest my case, I would like to repeat the motion of the day. This House regrets the entries of transgender in sport, and I, as the deputy leader of opposition, strongly disagree with this motion because we simply agree that we need to give the transgender to entry in sport, and I strongly agree that this motion should fall, and only fall. Thank you.
Thank you for the insightful speech. We will now welcome the government whip to
hello. You hear me?
Yes.
Roses are red and violets are blue. Opposition are misled and the government are true. Assalamualaikum, hi and good morning. My name is Mio Aiman Mikael and I'm as a white speaker for the government side. So today I will be supporting the motion that this house regrets the entry of transgender in sports. And why? Because it's to make sure all athletes or participants of the sport competition will receive fair and equal treatment. First of all, I will give my rebuttals and then I will support my teammates. All right. From the leader of the opposition side, I clearly hear that she said to open the category sport for the why? Because sport is one of the biggest thing in the world. A lot of countries make money by doing sport. If we open the transgender category, who will watch the sport? Who will support the sport? And who will sponsor the sport? Imagine if transgender compete in Olympics. No one will ever watch the sport. And where can we find money?
Why, please?
Sorry, stay on my point. Next, from the second speaker. I clearly hear that he say only about a chess competition. It's a narrow-minded of them to just think about how chess doesn't require physical strength when there are tons of other sports that require strength. And I clearly hear that he say the transgender use a lot of money, energy to prepare for the sport. Why they are even going to sport if they are transgender? There's no humanity at all. There is no humanity at all. And what about the women that already spend their money, a lot of money, to prepare for the sport? For me, to prepare the sport like rugby, I spend a lot of money. For my boots, already 200 ringgit. And what about they? They spend on the food, equipment, gym, and more. Sorry, I'm rejecting your POI. And next, I will supporting my teammates. From my Prime Minister, Nat, As my Prime Minister say, interest of transgender in sport is totally gender inequality. This is actually happening in this world. Like in my research, Veronica Ivy from the Los Angeles, then known as Rachel McKinnon, he is actually transgender female. He have won a gold medal at the Cycling Master World Track Championship in Los Angeles. This is actually unfair because Rachel McKinnon compete with women that surely got lower level of physical strength compared to men that having a higher physical strength. What about another example, right? Another example such as weightlifting sport. Yeah, it is a kind of dangerous sport and it needs a lot of training. It got a lot of years to train for the weightlifting and it costs a lot of money. So let me give you an example. It is totally unfair when the transgender get into the competition for the weightlifting. Why? Because of the strength that the transgender have is higher than the actual woman have. According to the research, men can lift up over 500 kilograms for lifting, 200 kilograms for bench press, and 315 kilograms for squat, compared to the woman that can only lift over 300 kilograms and 300 kilograms for squat. It is very significant different at all. How can the transgender get into the weightlifting and win the gold medal? What about the women that already training a lot of years, a lot of money they spend for their supplement, for their gym, monthly gym, for their equipment such as lifting boots. And next, I will supporting my Deputy Prime Minister Shafiq. As he says, the interest for males for transgender female have taken title from the female athlete. Why this is happening? This is happening because of the transgender female got more strength compared to the woman. Even the transgender female have a surgery to become female, they still have the man strength. They still have man personality. They still have the man power.
Your eye, please.
They only look like a woman, but inside they still a man. They still got the strength. They still got the aura of the man, and they still have the man power.
How many minutes?
Next.
QI.
The interest of transgender female is just the same like man entering the woman sport. It is like this is like the example like that. It's like Usain Bolt become the transgender female and get in the woman competition at the Olympic. How can that you think the transgender can get into the competition like that? Of course, he will win the competition because of the strength, the physical. Of course, he will got the gold medal. So the interest of transgender female needs to be totally blocked. This is for women rights. And I'm, as a white speaker, fully supporting the motion that this house regrets the entry of transgender in sport. And our stance today to make sure all athletes are participants of the sport competition will receive fair and equal treatment. I think that's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you for your speech. Moving on, we will now hear the speech from the opposition whip.
Am I audible, miss? Am I audible?
Yes,
Yes, we
clear.
can hear you. All right, thank you for that. I will start my speech in 3, 2. Let me on my camera first. All right, okay. I will start my speech in 3, 2, and 1. Reality is wrong. Dreams are for real. Before I start my speech, I will explain this later on, why I mentioned this quote in the first place. A warm good evening I wish to Madam Speaker, timekeeper, judges with overflowing wisdom. Thank you for letting me, as the whip speaker from the opposition, to oppose our motion on this elegant day. Today, extremely motion to be debated, which is this House regrets the entries of transgender in sports. And as the opposition, we strongly disagree with this motion, as we believe these issues can be handled with a different way, as we already produced our mechanism where we have to create a new category for these transgender people. And now, before reinforcing my team's case line and showing valid sound that why our case line is better, obviously, than the government, let me rebut all this irrelevant and points that doesn't make any sense simply and show how weak is their case line. Starting on with this so-called whip minister. First of all, is he even really a whip speaker or the defense minister? I'm starting to wondering because he simply denied 4 POIs. Do he even want to engage with the opposition? Clearly, it doesn't show that he is qualified for the whip speaker. Now, moving on. He also stated that no one would watch transgender people if they are in sports. Excuse me, what do you mean, Mr. Third Speaker? Are you discriminating them? Is this what the government want? You are simply discriminating people. And I don't think this is what a government should do, clearly. And he said, why would transgender people go in sports? What do you mean by that? They have their fundamental human rights. Are you denying all these fundamental human rights, Mr. Third Speaker? All right, now moving on to the Deputy Prime Minister. He stated that transgender people want to be known as female as they have better qualification, as they have better strength and etc. Let me remind him. We are talking about sports, general sports, not only weightlifting. Let me give you an example. In artistic gymnastics, boys generally do better because they have stronger strength and agility. We are not denying this. But girls are better at balance beam, which needs a sense of balance. Also in rhythmic gymnastics, which requires flexibility. Girls are better than boys. And this is why we are saying boys are equal to girls. This is gender equality. And there are a lot of transgender people who win in gymnastics when they have the strength of the man, but they do not have the balance of the woman. How is this possible? Simply because they deserve it.
All right,
Yeah,
so
sure.
you're talking about gymnastics. So, okay, I just want to say you're narrow-minded. So, what about other sports? Are we just talking about gymnastics?
All right,
Are you just talking about girls are
thank
better
you,
than boys in gymnastics? How about other sports? Could you explain?
Thank you for your POI again, mister. You are calling me as the narrow-minded person. But look at who said, why are you only looking at chess as a sport? Look at your whip minister. He is the one narrow-minded, not us simply. We are talking about all kind of sports, not only weightlifting.
POI.
Weightlifting, no thank you. No, thank you. Not only weightlifting. We are not repeating sports. We are saying chess, gymnastics, artistic, etc. We are talking about sports, ladies and gentlemen, not only sports. No, as I said, I will accept it later if I have time. And yeah, moving on with the Prime Minister, she stated that it will lead to unfairness. How would it lead to unfairness when we already created a new mechanism where they have their own category? Now, you may say they only want to validate themselves as female, etc., etc. Then look about female person who change their sexuality to male. They doesn't care. They just want you to respect them, not discriminate them like your whip minister. We have to respect them as a normal human being, as they have their fundamental human rights. And just because someone changed their gender, they do not have right to participate in female category. And this is what the Prime Minister has stated. And actually, she didn't even give proper explanation of what sports are we talking about today. And that's why my leader of opposition has stated, we are talking about all kind of sports, not only weightlifting sports. And now let me reinforce my team's case line and show you why we are why we are winning this case like easy. No, thank you. I will accept it later. And yeah, the leader of opposition stated that reality is strong, dreams are for real. This is a quote, iconic quote stated by Tupac Shakur. Clearly stated that dreams are for real. You are destroying dreams, not only the dreams of the dreams. You stated why our transgender people are going sports in the first place. How cruel is this, ladies and gentlemen? And as my no, thank you. As I said, I have too much to speak, and you are simply wasting my time. And as the deputy leader of opposition said about fundamental human rights. Now, before I talk about this, what is democracy in the first place? Democracy comes from the Greek word demos, meaning people, and kratos, meaning power. So democracy can be thought of as the power of people, a way of governing which depends on the will of the people. But let me ask you, are you governing by the will of the people? I don't think so. Simply because you are discriminating your own country's people. Why are you doing this? Are you the real government? And you may say the people are illegal in our country, but look at the other countries who has power, like United States of America, before by the United Nations. And the second point of my speaker is mental health. You are actually increasing more mental health of the transgender people. You are increasing more problems. They are already facing a lot of problems, which is deciding what sex they are, but you are increasing their problem. And now I believe I showed you that opposition have clearly win this case because we have produced mechanism enough to win this case. And with that, before I rest my case, I would say again, we as the opposition disagree with our motion today as we have proper mechanism, unlike the government, and we are not discriminating all. We are loving all. Love all.
Thank you for your speech. That concludes the main speeches of this debate. Now we will move on to the replying speech where each team will summarize their main arguments and rebuttals in 4 minutes. Position side may start first. Vanessa, are you there?
Can I get 2 more minutes? Am I audible?
Yes.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I stand before you today to oppose the motion that this House regrets the entries of transgender in sports. I firmly believe that outright regretting the transgender in sports is not the most transgender. Why can't you? Come up with solutions. All you're doing is stating the negative effects of transgenders entering in male and female categories. Furthermore, you have presented compelling arguments regarding the hopes and dreams of the transgender and the mental health of them and fundamental human rights. In this rebuttal, I will address the opposition's points and address the government's points and further strengthen the case. My first rebuttal will be unfairness. The government argues that having transgender competing in male or female categories will lead to unfairness. Of course, we acknowledge that open up a new category for transgenders. It's essential to remember that they are human as well. Stating the negative effects of transgender entering male and female categories practically do nothing and cause more uproar. My second rebuttal, companies with women and women and women. What about other genders? The rule doesn't just revolve about women, it revolves about everyone, every gender, every sexuality. Transgenders aren't just available to female categories. They are transgender joining male category, but as I mentioned before, this problem can be easily solved by opening a new category. It's not hard and it doesn't affect the economy in any bad way. Rather, actually in the opposite, it will increase the economy because there will be more engagement. To strengthen our case, I first one would be the thought that have a category for them. So in conclusion, we urge you to consider standing against the motion today.
Thank you for the amusing speech. Next, let's welcome the speech. The time starts once you are ready.
Okay, so can you guys hear me?
Yeah, clear.
Okay, thank you. Okay, a very good morning to everyone again. So here we meet again in the reply speech session. So today, I would like to address the uncertainty in the opposition's team case, and I would like to say why we, as the government team, has won the debate. Okay, so I will start with the uncertainties from the side of opposition. Okay, so their opposition leader has stated that they do agree that it is unfair for the transgender to join the sports competition. That's why they're coming out with new category for the transgender. But suddenly, when the opposition whip was speaking, he was suddenly contrasting the speech given by actually right it that he suddenly agreed on the transgender females joining the women's sports. He suddenly gave examples about the gymnastic thingy, about how this transgender female won the gymnastic competition because of their even if they have men's strength and does not have women's balance. They are actually contradicting with each other. We are actually on their side, which are opposing the motion, which is, I'm so sorry that they cannot actually understand their own stance. They are the one who is on our side, which is they are clearly agree with the motion. They agree with the motion that it is unfair. It is unfair category for sports competition. It's just the opposition whip was the only one who was actually opposing the whole motion, which is very contradicting of them. Okay. The opposition leader stated that we should come up with a new category for the transgender, but I believe that my deputy prime minister has stated that the transgender female want qualifications and validations to be accepted as a woman as much as the biological woman. And my government whip has also stated that sports needs money. If we are opening a sports for the transgenders, who would want to sponsor them? Who would want to sponsor the money in order for the sports to be held? It is not, it is easier said than done. It is easier to say that, okay, we are opening a new category for the transgenders, but where do we get the money? Okay. And the opposition whip suddenly accused us for saying that chess is the only sports in the world, when the one saying that was their own deputy opposition leader. He suddenly gave an example of a chess women's sports competition. It's like he was degrading us for talking about chess only when it was their deputy opposition leader was the one talking about that. And their side also stated it's unfair for the trustee join the sports competition. So where is your humanity when women lost a sport to a trans woman? Please don't contradict your own words. Okay, now I will be strengthening the case. I will be stating again our stance on the government side. We are trying to make sure all athletes or participants of the sports competitions will receive a fair and equal treatment. I've stated in my speech that the entries of transgender females in sports will bring inequality to the whole sports competition. And my deputy prime minister has stated that the entries of those transgender females have taken titles from the female athletes who have worked their life to join the sports competition, and it is against the women's right. And I believe that our government whip have shown good examples by stating that the first example is about the Veronica Ivy, a transgender female who won gold medal in cycling competition because she was born with about how men can lift 500 kilogram for lifting, 350 kilogram for bench press, and 300 for lifts, 180 kilogram for bench press, and 300 kilogram for the squats. So that's all from the government side. That's why I've stated that the government side.
Thank you, everyone present, for making this debate session a success. Let's conclude today's debate session on this house regards the entries of transgender in sports. I would like to thank both teams for their excellent performance today. Now let's give some time for the judges to calculate overall mark and announce the winner of today's debate.
Madam Speaker, I can give the marks now.
All right. Okay, let's invite our panel of judges to announce their decision and give some feedback on this debate.
Review of my feedback. A lot of things to tell you guys. So can you guys open the camera first? Let me see your faces. Okay, because there are a lot of improvement I want to give to you guys, so I will start earlier lah. Okay, so before I start, let me introduce myself. My name is Fatah Aswadi bin Nasri. Actually, I am the director for this competition because the inter-faculty debate competition already held for Bahasa Melayu division also. So I already handled the Bahasa Melayu, but me and I am the director. So I am the alumni from Universiti. Forgive me if I talk Bahasa Melayu lah. So hope you guys can understand too. But don't worry, I am the invitation judge to give you guys because my qualification right now is I in Universiti IPT, Institusi Pengajian Tinggi in Royal Debate. So that is my qualification that can help you to orang kata yakin lah dengan saya punya pendapat. Boleh ya? Kadang-kadang saya cakap bahasa Melayu semua okey kan? Tak ada masalah kan? Okay. Sebab ini sidang berkecuali orang panggil. Okay. So for today's motion, congrats to all you guys. We can see the debate happen lah. Because we can see the engagement. So there will be a lot of room of improvement. Let's talk about speaker one by one. Can I? We go for one by one. Okay, let's go to the Prime Minister first. Okay, so Prime Minister, you actually already done your job, your scope job, good job. But as a Prime Minister, you should be carefully to stated your conceptual in motion. For example, when you set your parameter to discuss the transgender only for the men who transfer to the women, you should state it or your justification. Because I already heard from opposition, they ask you, transgender is not only for men to women. So, sedihnya that already for lah your own team lah. Justification yang jelas. Because memang dah stated dalam usul, transgender only. So why you choose to scope only for men to women transgender? Why you don't want to discuss regarding the women to men? Transgender is not only men to women kan? So boleh saja buat macam tu. But you have to state it. Dalam debat or debate, we call it justification. You have to tell everyone what is your justification doing like that. Same goes to opposition lah. Bila awak jadi government pun, when you stated the parameter, you scope kan lebih kecil, you kena ada justification. Or not, you just discuss lah. Can you feel prolonged until the end? They want to rebut your point. Why you just want to talk about men to women? Okay, all right. So this is the first adjustment lah you have to do. Okay, okay, I think that's all for you. So good job for your speech. I love your speech. Okay, in debate, everyone in debate, first thing first, you have to make sure you can clear up your point clear as water. Okay, so if you don't manage to convince the judge times, judge will ignore your point and will give you the low marks. So be careful. So in this room, I just stated lah more clearly. Okay, I don't know why. Either your microphone is problem because your speech is not clear to be heard. Okay. And I think only Vanessa could. Okay. Only Vanessa. So after this, if you manage to go, me as a judge or everyone else as a judge, manage to hear your point clearly. Okay, so that's for Prime Minister. Okay, good job, Prime Minister. Okay, for the leader opposition, okay, leader opposition, I can detect your point clearly. So nasib baik tim lawan ada tadi kan. You macam I bagi tahu tadi. Kenapa dia nak fokus kepada transgender only men to women? That's the first point you can rebut. Second point. Okay. Second point. We already have the mechanism. So if the transgendered will bring the inequalities to the other participant, so we can do a new category or the category khas for women. So awak kena jawab terus dengan dia punya orang dia punya point. So tadi kan point PM Prime Minister talk about inequalities. So you tak ada kan new category, so it will not bring inequalities. Tak ada lagi dah inequalities. So you kena jawab dengan cara macam tu, terus nampak point Prime Minister akan jatuh lah. But I can't hear well from your speech. Jelas lagi lah. Okay, boleh? Vanessa? Okay, I hope you clear. Okay, the next one. For the Deputy Prime Minister. Okay. Alright. So your point is about women's right and taking title. Am I right? Shafiq?
Yes, it's true.
Okay, so your point is about women's right and taking title. To tell them lah, but you must focus on your rebut as well, because at the end of the day, the case from the opposition about the new category is not rebut well. Means you have to rebut sampai betul-betul kes dia mati. But apa yang saya dengar daripada awak tadi, awak cuma cakap kita tak perlukan pertandingan, kita tak perlukan pun peserta transgender. That is not very a good rebuttal. Awak kena betul-betul cakap rebuttal ni betul-betul kena cakap yang bahawa new kategori ni tak teka. Yang kes awak pasal new kategori tu ada seorang bidas dengan betul. Siapa dapat teka?
The government whip?
Yes. Only Mio can bring the good rebuttal for the case from opposition. And it should be your point lah. Then you should talk about when we do the transgender category, it will bring more problem, such as we can't get any support from every country because not every country support transgender. So that's not a support masyarakat dunia. So I think Mio punya point sepatutnya pergi atas. Dia akan jadi, so itu macam sayang sekali. Okay, sangat-sangat sayang. Okay, so back to leader of our Prime Minister. So good job for your speech. Cuma you kena fokus pasal rebuttal lah, kena lebih sharp lagi. Sebab kuat juga pasal mekanisme diorang tadi. You kena betul-betul tolak mekanisme dia. Kenapa mekanisme ni kita tak boleh pakai langsung? Bukan sebab kita tak boleh buat mekanisme ni disebabkan kita tak support transgender. dan benda tu dah perangkap you balik. Okay. I tak tahulah kalau you punya coach ke cikgu you ada ajar. Kalau dalam debat bahasa Melayu, memang kami tak ada sangat debat pasal gender, transgender, LGBT. But in debate, you have to consider everything. Means human rights in every country. I minta maaf kalau you tu orang Islam ke tak Islam ke, you kena consider juga. Means the moral of this motion is we want to carry out the humanity. Okay, tak kisahlah government ke opposition ke, kita nak jaga mereka punya humanity. But how? As a government, you nak carry the humanity rights ataupun nak jaga transgender punya right, but we got a lot of problem. That's why we can't do. Sepatutnya itu stand you. Itu stand government. Okay, next. Okay, Shafiq, any question?
No, I don't think so. That's really good.
Okay, so alright, thank you. So we go for Raymond. So Raymond, good job for you. You got a very, very nice rebuttal. Okay, sometimes your rebuttal is greater than your whip. Okay, sometimes lah. Okay, so be careful, Raymond. You must give your teammate or your whip more expert because you as a deputy leader opposition, the deputy leader opposition, you should more focus on your point, not only your rebuttals. Okay, so you can rebut, but not so dekat you punya whip, tak ada benda nak bidas dah, tak ada benda nak rebut dah. Okay, you punya point pun clear. Congrats. Okay, good job. Okay, next. At Mio. Okay, Mio ada ke Mio kan? Okay, whip. Whip bukan white kan? Okay, both of whip government lah. Both of whip government and opposition. You should be more focused on your scope. Okay, your kerja. Apa yang you patut buat. Sepatutnya in the debate, whip ni dia punya pemberat dia adalah only rebut. In my team, or when I train a team, I have to tell my team that if you want to reaffirm your standpoint, your 1 minute before your speech end. Only 1 minute. But apa yang saya tengok tadi, macam Mio, you only rebut 2 minutes. So that means you reaffirm your main point from your team 5 minutes. So that is not your job actually. Your job, Mio, you have to more rebut. Okay, so how to rebut? I just give you tips lah. First, betul. Apa yang lawan cakap. So tadi kalau saya dapat rangkumkan ataupun dapat summarizekan from opposition, tapi kalau from Raymond, I got human rights pasal mental health. So you should rebut dia point. That's how you rebut 3 point. 3 point tu means 3 jenis rebut yang berbeza lah. If you as a whip, tapi kalau you deputy, you leader opposition pun dah cukup. Dah is enough dah. Jangan rebut banyak-banyak. Okay? Same goes to whip opposition. So whip opposition, you ada psycho tu, tapi you punya rebut point tu tak ada. Okay? I boleh tengok ada, tak ada langsung. Bandingkan dengan Raymond, you punya tu tadi macam you punya ada sikit, Raymond dah tapau banyak. Tapi you punya ada lah. Tapi you punya psycho tu buat orang percaya dekat you. So that's a good thing. So Mio pun boleh ambil juga as a pengajaran. Because in inter-faculty debate ni sebenarnya kita nak belajar daripada tim lain dan pun yang kuat. But kalau cantik lagi, you cantikkan dengan rebut yang tajam. Macam tadi kan, I boleh bring up the team. Bring up the point. Kenapa nak fokus pasal transgender men to women nak pesan. Vanessa, you dah boleh cantas dah. You dah boleh potong dah point daripada government. Dia cakap apa? Dia cakap, oh bila ada wanita, lelaki bertukar wanita, tiba-tiba dia masuk pertandingan, dia jadi inequalities punya situation. You cakap lah, adakah hari ini pertandingan kat dunia validation dia as a participant tu selonggar launching berat badan mereka berapa, ketiga di bidang. Nampak tak? So opposition tak attack benda tu. Rugilah. Saya yang attack dalam kepala saya. Saya macam, ni boleh attack ni government ni. Macam tu lah kan. Okay, so itu saja secara keseluruhannya untuk tim for your overall. Okay, contoh kan. For this motion, apa sebenarnya punya the main reason this motion should be debate? Actually, this motion should be debate is all about humanity. So kalau opposition mesti dia akan cakap pasal humanity, pasal government, dia nak perjuangkan humanity tu, tetapi diseluarkan duit nak buat kategori baru, menyukarkan penilaian, nak bagi tahu pemenang. So that's why we can't proceed this kind of competition. Macam tu. Itu yang akan the halangan lah, the challenges in the sports. Okay. So before I announce the result, ada tak apa-apa soalan daripada kalian from you guys untuk bertanyakan pada saya? Silakan.
No sir, but thank you for enlighten us, and even saya pun from BM debate.
Okay, that's good. Kita actually when even though I'm from a Bahasa Melayu Perdebat, but Bahasa Melayu Perdebat ni they have the structured point lah. So you should learn from Bahasa Melayu Perdebat in your school lah, macam mana dorang structuredkan dorang punya point. Major weakness lah from debaters yang I rasa I tak tahu macam mana nak betulkan. Okay. Tapi I bukan trainer debaters, I trainer perdebat. So I pun macam susah lah nak betulkan. So you guys kalau dah sampai ke peringkat final, you guys mesti structuredkan you punya speech tu secantik-cantik yang boleh. Point by point. Jangan sekejap nak benar. Okay. Alright. So position tak ada soalan. Government ada ke?
Nak tanya pasal tadi rebuttals tu, you said that give 1 point and rebut 3 points. So 3 points yang diberi oleh opponent ke yang kita fikir sendiri yang dia akan bagi 3 points tu? Macam mana tu? 1 point and rebut 3 points.
Maksud I tadi, kalau you jadi whip, you kena so I hope that or your school can prepare you to come to Kelantan lah, to be with us in a physical competition. So this is the first starter for us to learn to organize this competition. So very good. So good job. Teruskan.
Baik.
Okay, so I want to announce the result. So the result, jangan berkecil hati sebab you berapa pusingan dan you guys boleh saksikan benda ni dalam YouTube tau. So you guys boleh revision balik lah. Mostly yang masuk ni semua form berapa?
I'm form 4.
Form 4, form 5. Form 5 tak belajar ke? Asal masuk pertandingan?
nak kena sedar sikit dah masuk SPM ni.
Okay. So you guys kena cari pelapis segeralah. Nampaklah you memang power sebab you form 5, tapi kalau you je kuat, you punya pelapis tak. So siapa sini lower form? Ada lower form ke? Tak ada. Semua apa form?
Lower form. In our team ada form 4, 2-3 orang.
Oh, okay. Alright. Okay, so sekejap. Apa tadi jawapan ni? Sorry for the technical issue. We improve it soon. 1 minute. Apa benda ni? Kejap. Sabar.
Alright.
I tengok WhatsApp sekejap. Okay, I rasa itu saja kot. I rasa result akan announce dalam group. Good luck for you. Kita tengok lepas kejap lagi siapa yang break. Tahniah dan lepas ni join lagi banyak pertandingan. Dan jangan lupa untuk bawa debate ni sampai bila-bila lah. Sebab I ni hidup dan mati I dalam debat and debate lah. Okay. I pun dah 25, 24 but still involved in debate untuk next round kalau ada rezeki. Thank you semua.
Right, thank you guys.
Okay.
Bye. Vanessa. Hope we meet again one day.
Guys, at the end, we have to back to the main room.
Alright.
Right. Thank you, Shafiq, Nadira. So
Thanks.
we have to wait until
The result. Dapat ke Pravina?
Dah. Tengah fill in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright. So, it will be announced at dekat main session kan? Dia tak announce tadi kan?
Dia akan dapat result